Merci d'être présent au OVH Summit. C'est un plaisir de vous avoir aujourd'hui.
So now we're going to go a little bit deeper to the topic of AI.
Votre business en démarrant aujourd'hui. Alors vous l'avez vu ce matin dans la keynote, on a parlé énormément.
Okay, you see at the keynote this morning, we talked an awful lot about data.
Et tout ça pour vous dire que
And all of this to say that we're entering into a new industrial revolution.
tout ça, ça a commencé
Now this started
avec la systématisation
with the systematization of what the human being could do. Strength of our arms, thanks to steam.
puis tout ça
Then all of that
standardisé
started to be standardized
de façon systématique.
in an industrial and systematic
C'est la
way.
deuxième révolution
This was the
industrielle.
second industrial revolution.
La troisième, c'est
The third
on a commencé
was when we started to bring
à ces systèmes de production
to these production systems a bit of intelligence with IT and electronics, and all of this being programmed. And the fourth industrial revolution, which we're facing today, is that of big data,
et la deuxième
artificial intelligence, and the second era of robotics, where the systems will be able to act autonomously, much more autonomously than before.
Et de ce que vous pouvez voir sur le graphique,
And as you can see in this graphic,
c'est que ça va en s'accélérant.
is that it's going to accelerate.
Les cycles se rapprochent.
The cycles are getting closer and closer. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that later.
Alors on va démarrer un petit peu
Now,
sur la
we're
ligne,
going to start with AI
ce que l'humain voit
and
de
going to
l'intelligence
talk about
artificielle.
what human beings think or see
C'est aussi un vieux fantasme.
in artificial intelligence. AI is an old fantasy, the idea with like cloning ourselves and all the derivatives of these ideas. And I love Schwarzenegger. I've put a photograph of Schwarzenegger up on the screen.
Dans ce cas-là,
Arnold.
l'intelligence artificielle,
Yep.
elle est arrivée
AI has moved in this way to become a sort of robot that's going to destroy the world. That's kind of a fantasy. The second film that I wanted to talk about is Her. That was a film that came out a few years ago, which was a little bit closer to what's happening today with artificial intelligence, where machines are starting to imitate emotions. And I'm really saying imitating.
commence à reproduire des
They're starting to
comportements humains.
reproduce human behavior.
Je vais pas spoiler la fin, mais
I'm not going to spoil the ending here, but overall, artificial intelligence in that film is starting to have a sort of human intuition. And that's a little bit the turning point that we're reaching today.
évidemment, il y a énormément
And then obviously there's a lot of TV series. On Arte, we have a film that I like a lot, a TV series that I like a lot. And you guys can watch it at your leisure. But one thing that's sure is that something is happening, even as we speak. There's fiction,
puis il y a la réalité.
but there's also reality.
Et entre les deux,
And between the
il y a tout ce
two,
qu'on peut lire
we have everything that we can read and see on the internet, in the media, on the TV, in the TV series.
mais ça démontre quand même que quelque chose.
But it shows that something is going on here.
Des personnalités assez connues comme
You have personalities, people that are quite well known, who are starting to discuss omniscient intelligence, like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg. We talk an awful lot about robots that are able to write articles, or intelligence that's able to generate the best possible worlds. I love that kind of thing.
Mais en réalité, derrière tout ça,
But behind that, in reality,
ça c'est mon quotidien.
this is my daily life.
C'est ce que je vis.
This is what I live every day.
Et je pense que tous les gens qui font de l'AI,
And I think anybody who's working on AI is feeling the same way.
il y a ce qu'on fait.
You have what we talk about, and then you have the reality behind it, what we have to do each day. So the first thing we're going to look at is what can artificial intelligence do today,
Et ça, on va le regarder.
and that is something we're going to look at through a day,
Une petite journée avec
a little day with AI. You know that type of day where, you take the sort of day off to do all your to-do list,
faire les courses,
do your shopping,
chez le médecin,
go to the doctor,
aller à la banque,
go to the bank,
finalement un petit peu.
and then maybe a little bit of rest and relaxation at home.
C'est ce petit cheminement qu'on
Well,
va
it's
regarder
this
ensemble.
little daily experience that we're going to look at. with some practical cases.
Ma journée elle commence
So my day starts, obviously.
ma voiture.
I have to take my car, so I go to my favorite supermarket or my super retailer, and I take my autonomous car, my driverless car, and here
Est en train de révolutionner
artificial intelligence is really revolutionizing the world of transport.
bien parce que grâce
So thanks to deep learning,
l'intuition
you remember the intuition that we were talking about earlier, cars are really starting to are able to see now. They can see other cars, other vehicles. They can see pedestrians. They have all these intuitive reactions that you also had to acquire when you got your driver's licenses.
très bien.
So all very well and good, okay. So I don't need to touch anything. My car drives itself and takes me to my favorite shopping mall.
Et là,
And here,
qu'est-ce qui se passe?
what happens?
L'AI
AI
est une révolution,
is a revolution in the retailing world.
mais en fait vous allez rien voir.
But in fact, you're not going to see anything. That's the goal. You don't see any of it. All of it is hidden.
Parce que les rayons ne sont plus
Because the aisles are no longer empty. There's no longer stock shortages. We talked about it this morning with the tomato soup, which was substituted by a similar product.
parce que mes systèmes de
Because
préférence
my
sont
management
capables
systems are able to understand the description of products and find similar replacements. They're able to anticipate the flows of my customers and to know the consumption of this or that product and how it's going to apply and how I can anticipate all of this.
La connaissance client, évidemment.
Customer knowledge, obviously, very important. I am lucky enough to have a little boy a year ago,
J'ai envie de savoir,
and what I'd like to know
c'est pas les offres.
is not the offers for senior citizens. I want to know about the offers for my life, to my little boy, to my child. And this is what we find in our 360-degree knowledge of my customer to give the best offers, the best products, the best promotions. And that we can do thanks to artificial intelligence.
Troisième élément, c'est le
Third element is self-checkout. We hear an awful lot about self-checkout. It's a big buzz in retailing. Thanks to cameras and intuition, I'm able to understand the movement of people, the gestures of people. So when they take something from a shelf, they take a product from a shelf, and I put it in their shopping cart, or I put it back.
tous ces tâches-là.
All these tasks a few years ago were completely impossible to imagine. But thanks to deep learning today, we are able to handle and process all of these elements thanks to the hyper processing capacities of our new computers.
Bon, je vais faire mes courses.
So I go do my shopping.
Partie moins drôle, je dois aller voir le médecin.
Of course, less fun, I have to go to see my doctor. And here, I'm sure you've all heard about it today. The revolution is currently going on in medicine.
Et comment je le vois, moi, c'est
Now, how do I see this? Well, it's because there are two elements
qui vont changer
that will
fortement.
change very strongly. The first is diagnostics.
Grâce aux capacités
Thanks to the ability
des ordinateurs
of computers
de lire
to read publications and summarize them, and to find cases like rare cases and to relay this information,
nos antécédents médicaux,
the management of our medical history, all of these elements are things that a doctor might not necessarily know, but thanks to this technology, we can improve the quality of our health care,
la rapidité des
the
soins.
speed of caring for our patients.
On n'est pas en train de remplacer
Now,
le
we're
médecin.
not replacing the doctor.
On est en train de lui donner les
We
moyens
are simply giving the doctor the best possible tools for them to do their job the best possible way and improve the quality of life of his or her patients. The second element
c'est le traitement.
is processing
On va être en capacité
or treatments.
bientôt de
Excuse me,
réduire
diagnostics and
à
treatments.
irradier lors du traitement du cancer.
When we treat cancer, for example, we can reduce the surface of radiation. The specialist doctor comes in, the oncologist, he detects the tumor,
Et là, il vous
and then he gives you a prescription for 1 month of chemotherapy.
le truc,
The thing behind all of this
la zone
is that the zone that is touched by the cancer, the
située au niveau du
the cancerous area is right near the liver. But your liver changes position every day depending on your daily life. So we're going to be obliged to irradiate a larger area than that which was detected on the IRM. But thanks to the computer's ability to detect and view and vision your body, when you go in each day, each week, it can relocate the tumor and send the X-rays directly to the right spot and diminish the irradiation zone in order to maintain your quality of life. Now, you didn't have to go back to the doctor to do that. You didn't have to go back to get an X-ray. All you needed to do is improve the quality of the patient's life. Now, my doctor tells me everything is good, I'm healthy, it's fine, so now I'm going to go see my bank. Because my bank also is in full revolution. There's a real artificial revolution in finance. There's something that's going on in finance that's very interesting. We don't yet know how to manage it, but it's what we call the non-linear models. And we're going to use algorithms. We're going to use deep learning to pile up a certain number of mathematical modeling to understand the market. And that's thanks to these new mathematical models that have been brought out thanks to deep learning. And and another element, it's quite fun, it's what we call Q learning, so reinforced learning. So what we're going to do is we're going to punish neurons when they take a bad decision, and we're going to give it a little treat when it takes the good decision. And that is something that's magical, because when I do trading, what I really want to know is whether I made the right decision or not. Well, all these systems have the ability to optimize the networks based on this concept. Now, obviously, all of this requires a speed of thought and an increase in the reliability of decision-making while keeping human beings in the loop. And this is what our customers are doing. Predictis is a company, this is one of our clients, it's since several years now, and it analyzes all the decisions of jurisprudence that have been taken. It's going to correlate all of this with the case that is specific to our needs, and it's going to give us a certain number or a certain probability on the likely decisions in your case. We have not replaced human beings, we've not replaced the judge, we've not replaced the lawyer. We've simply improved the speed of decision making and increased the quality of that decision. And that is something we can already do today. It's not Terminator. Now, I've had a very heavy day, as you can see, and I'm now going to go home and relax a bit. And what I love to do is to navigate on the web. I love searching and hunting and pecking on the net. So to do that, I use search engines. Now, what I hate to see is this. I hate this. This is what I love to see. Now, my search engine is going to come back with my preferences, what I like, and it's not only going to be based on keywords or the lexicon that's used on the page, but it's also going to be based on intuition. Why? Because distinguishing that this page is not very welcoming and the other one is, that's not a question of coding. You've taken a few milliseconds just to see that this one here is not very welcoming. We all agree. But the computer will be able, with its intuition, to detect beauty. Now, of course, it's relative to my choices, my favorites, my preferences, but it's going to facilitate my daily life. And as you've seen, all these changes are taking place now. And the fourth industrial revolution that's currently taking place today is extremely close to the third industrial revolution. And that's because of the certain problems that we are facing. It's because of the problems society faces. When I say problems, I'm talking about questions, not resolvable problems, but questions that people are sensitive about. For example, different generations, generational differences. Are they going to welcome artificial intelligence or fear it? And you might find something surprising here, but would we not be in a cycle of inverse innovation? What do I mean by inverse innovation? It means that when a society or a part of the society is more apt to welcome an innovation than another part of the society, which originally might have been more susceptible for it. Let me explain. A generation of young people, for example, how receptive are they to IA? If they're native to AI, they're going to manage it very well. Like, how will I, who I'm 30 years old, how am I going to react to this? I've programmed all my life. I've been a programmer all my life. I've programmed. I've entered internet addresses. Am I going to be able to make the transition to ask a robot or a bot to display a web page? Can I do this verbally, and will I feel comfortable? Maybe not. I'm not sure if I'm ready for it yet. But if I take a generation of people who are older, I was talking with my grandfather last week, and he said, "Oh, I stopped using the computer because every time I type in a web address, it doesn't work. It's not always easy to type these web addresses out for old people." Now, would he maybe be happier to have artificial intelligence than I will? Will he be more comfortable speaking to a computer? He's fascinated by photographs, for example. He loves photography. Now, show me the latest photographs of the latest video cameras, and you display it. That's what we call inverse innovation. We've seen that with telephones, mobile phoning in Africa. We've seen, there was a lot of people who tried to put fixed telephone lines in Africa. It didn't work. And now they have an adoption rate of mobile phones that's much higher than we have in the West. In Europe, it's same thing with mobile payments in Asia. Everybody uses a credit card here, but are we receptive to using mobile phones to pay? Not yet, maybe. In Asia, everybody uses it. People don't even use credit cards anymore. In fact, they didn't even have the time to adopt credit cards. They already went straight to mobile phones. Is that not what we call inverse innovation, sort of leapfrogging from one generation to the next so that they can adopt it faster? That means that at OVH, attaining artificial intelligence is really going to take 4 steps. The first step is collecting. As you can understand, these algorithms for AI consume a lot of data. Now, this data needs to be stored. We're going to then process it with different references, with data warehousing, with ERPs, with classic BI, business intelligence. At least I have a view of what's going on in my business today. Now, these first 3 steps represent 80% of the problem today. That's why OVH has announced this morning the Universal Data Connector. What we believe is that that step there is the launch pad for AI. It's the collection of data, and that needs to be industrialized. It has to be a process that you can do with a few quick clicks. It should not be an endless discussion. It should not be huge negotiations that are endless. It has to be a few clicks, because databases, today you have 300, but tomorrow you'll have 700 because you will grow with us, and you will do mergers and acquisitions. You will buy companies as big as yours, and you will need to integrate and consolidate all of these information systems, especially the one of the company you just bought. There will be silos in that system, and you will need to consolidate all that data. So this is the convergence of systems. Now this brings us to the second step, storage. And in storage, there is a major challenge. You all saw it in the keynote speech. There's an explosion in the quantity of data that's coming down in future years. We have 2 choices. Either I can find a very good mason who can move the walls of my company. I don't have an address for a good mason who can do that. But the second solution will go to the cloud. and to use your traditional information systems, thanks to the collection of data, to send this data to the cloud in order to grow quickly with a few quick clicks, to do what we call a scale-up. All of this so that you can operate your systems, your ERPs, your data warehouses on dedicated servers. Okay? For now, we haven't added any values yet, but we have a good basis. We have what we call a data lake. Now, what we seek to do in this conference is to talk about AI. Right now, I've only talked about data, but AI is arriving right here. I need to leverage the value of my data to give an impulse to this data. Now, for now, all I've done is used data for what it was used for, what it was designed for, what it was meant for. But what we're going to now do is cross data that was not necessarily designed to be used together. And that's going to really create the valuation of data. And that's where AI, the deep learning, and the neuron networks and recurrent networks and all the different architecture, that's where you're going to really make a big difference. Today, this part here represents 80% of the job. Tomorrow, it needs to be 20 to or even 10% of your work, because your competitors are here. And that's where you make the difference. And the message that I want to leave you with today is that this part here, the valuation, is interesting. You need a cloud provider who has a real vision on this. But this part here is what you're going to have tomorrow. And your information system strategy has to integrate this, respecting all the rules of privacy, regulations, and ethics that come with it. Now, I'm going to talk about this. I already talked about the legacy, a web database, a physical database, a mobile database, external data, et cetera, and we're going to have lots and lots of other elements that need to be integrated. Big data is going to come and reconcile all of these systems. It's going to break down the silos and converge these different infrastructures. Second element is the descriptive analysis, as I explained earlier, and having an idea of what's happening in the business. And this is a big step. And here we see data sciences. Here we have machine learning. As we said this morning, we look at past data and present data to anticipate the future. We have deep learning. We use the capacity of our computers, the latest generation of computers, to get intuitive operations that calculate in a few milliseconds and understand what you're saying. Now, a few years ago, it was impossible for computers to understand what was being said, and now it's practically intuitive. And we talk also about experts, data analysts, all of this. The human being has to stay in the strategy, at the center of the strategy of your artificial intelligence. We will not replace the human being. And Tim O'Reilly, an evangelist that everybody knows in technology, he says that people who predict that jobs will be destroyed by AI can look in the past and see what was done with computers. We said the same thing with computers back in the day, and yet we have never seen so many jobs in IT, in consulting companies to accompany and assist everybody. Have we destroyed jobs? No, I think it's generated a lot of jobs from what I can see. And Alex presented that to you just before. He presented AI, and AI is going to be a real shift. It's a real turning point. It's not going to kill jobs. It's going to generate another type of business, maybe consulting, maybe assistance or accompaniment of people, maybe in ethics. It's all going to be new, but it's not going to destroy jobs. We're not going to lose jobs. We're going to create them. I'm going to ask you to play a little game here. Put your company on this table with the 5 levels of maturity. Maturity 1, you're able to describe what's going on in your business. That's already quite complicated. Now, if you grew quickly with acquisitions, then that's already quite complicated. Now, maturity level 2, you're now able to process these different elements and industrialize them. the ability to break down the silos. That's the maturity 2 level, is big data.
Peut-être on le vit aussi au niveau 3.
Now, maybe some of you might be already at level 3. We are starting to treat this data, process this data, to anticipate things a bit.
Je parlais de chiffre
I was
d'affaires,
talking about revenues, store visits,
des clusters de clients,
customer clusters. Okay,
deep learning.
deep learning. That's quite
Certains
new.
d'entre vous sont rendus là.
Some of you are already there.
On va utiliser les capacités.
We're going to use major capacity of computers to develop intuition. You've seen applications for business earlier, the 4th level of maturity. And then the 5th level is when you start reconciling all this and you have a real strategy where you put the human being at the center and you come up with systems for recommendations, for advice. And it takes a lot of information. It requires a complement. It doesn't come all by itself.
Alors, vous êtes placé là-dessus.
So this is where you need to position yourself at your different levels of maturity.
Maintenant, ce qu'on va voir,
Now,
c'est
what we're going to look at is what happens behind all of this. What goes behind level 4, which is deep learning, which is the big revolution ahead of us,
si
or in which we're entering even today.
le deep learning, c'est la
Deep
révolution
learning
parce que
is a revolution because we have sufficient calculating capacity and because the architectures, the mathematical architectures have been put into place and they imitate nature
avec le biomimétisme.
with biomimetism. And this
Comparer un avion.
is something that I can compare with a plane, an airplane. Well, okay, an airplane kind of imitates a plane. And these artificial neuron networks are going to try to create synapses and neuropses of a living being.
C'est une imitation.
So it's an imitation.
En train de reproduire un
We're not reproducing a human brain, we're imitating a human brain. And in the same way, just as we've imitated a bird with tons of steel for an airplane, we're going to need a lot of data
cerveau.
to imitate a human brain.
Un avion sans les plans, ça sert
Now,
à
a
rien.
plane without plans,
Un réseau de
it's
neurones,
useless.
en architecture.
Now, architecture of neurons without a plan also serves no purpose. Material, tons of steel. With plans, that's starting to become interesting. Artificial intelligence, when you look at all these petabits of data, it serves no purpose all by itself. And that's why I really want to talk about the first 3 steps: collection, storage, and operation.
Parce que avoir ça,
Because having this, and having that is simple.
celui-là,
But that next step, it's a big leap.
globalement,
So globally, these
votre
tools
provider, il est là pour
are provided by your cloud provider. The cloud provider is there to give that to you. The GPUs, the TPUs, the FPGAs, all the different technologies for artificial intelligence evolve every day.
Et la question, c'est
And the
est-ce que
big
vous allez
question is,
investir
are you going to invest
en capital sur des technologies
your capital in technology is going to change systematically, or are you going to concentrate on your operations and leave this risk capital to a cloud provider?
Bien sûr,
Obviously,
parler l'expert, l'humain,
I always say it, the expert has to be at the heart of the strategy of your AI operations.
pourquoi? Bien pour ça. Muffin chihuahua, classique. Pomme et chouette. Chien et serpillière. Guacamole et perroquet. Bon là c'est marrant, hein. Vous vous souvenez le médecin que je suis allé voir tout à l'heure? C'est un petit peu moins marrant, hein. Si jamais il se trompe d'endroit sur la localisation de ma cellule cancéreuse, ça va être un peu plus complexe. Et c'est pour ça qu'il y a besoin des experts, pour superviser, améliorer. Là, on va rentrer dans la technique. Comprendre comment on construit un réseau de neurones spécialisé pour votre business. Et ça va vous permettre de comprendre le business model qu'il y a derrière, pour vous. Quand on construit un réseau de neurones, on veut qu'il soit spécialisé pour notre métier. Et je vous ai parlé des pétabits de données. Eh bien, ici, on va construire ce qu'on appelle un general classifier, un système de classification général, générique, qui regarde les chouettes et les pommes, qui regarde les chihuahuas et les muffins. Comment est-ce que je rends cette intelligence accessible pour la médecine? Est-ce que je re-rentre tous les concepts à l'entrée ce qui demanderait encore plus de données, et que j'espère rebuilder tout ce modèle-là et en sortir quelque chose de spécifique à la médecine. Ou bien, est-ce que je fais comme à l'école, quand le professeur m'explique quelque chose et me fait un parallèle entre une matière et une autre? Par exemple, dans la physique et les maths. Ça arrive tous les jours. Eh bien, on va faire la même chose en intelligence artificielle. On va utiliser des concepts généraux sur la vision. On va laisser l'intelligence artificielle s'entraîner sur plein de données. Et elle va commencer à comprendre des concepts. Le coin, un rond, un trait, un oblique. Puis elle va superposer ces couches. Puis finalement, des courbes qui s'assemblent, ça donne une roue. Ça donne peut-être une lentille de caméra. Ça donne une chaise. Un coin, ça commence à donner un écran. Puis si j'assemble des coins, des ronds et tout ça, finalement, je commence à construire des objets. Eh bien, cette compréhension, on va la réexploiter. On va faire du fine-tuning. On va rajouter de nouvelles données qui sont spécifiques à votre métier, éventuellement quelques règles, et ça, c'est votre expert qui va vous aider là-dedans. On va repasser dans une plus petite boîte, mais qui vous appartient. Et on va réexploiter ces concepts de rond, de coin, d'oblique, de droite, appliqués par exemple à la médecine. Et ça va nous donner ce qu'on appelle un simple classifier, qui va être spécifique à votre business. Comment est-ce que je l'opère au quotidien? Voilà, ça demande quand même des grosses machines. On l'a appelé simple, hein. Ça demande des grosses machines. L'autre, c'est quelques mois de calcul. Celui-là, c'est quelques jours de calcul. Simple, hein. Eh bien, une fois qu'on l'a construit, ce réseau de neurones, spécifique à mon business, ça va générer en quelque sorte une matrice de décision qui pourrait être un fichier. Pour exemple, le cancer. Eh bien, je vais détecter des ronds et je dis, si j'ai tant de pourcents de ce calque qui ressemble à un rond, puis tant de pourcents de ça qui ressemble à un oblique, ça ressemble pas mal à un cancer. Oui, cancer. Et je fais rentrer un certain nombre de paramètres en haut, et je lis un certain nombre de décisions de l'autre côté. Ça, cette matrice, entre guillemets, compressée, je vais pouvoir l'embarquer dans mes systèmes, dans ma robotique, dans mon magasin, dans ma voiture, ou dans des systèmes qui servent à faire ce qu'on appelle de l'inférence. Des systèmes qui vous permettent d'appliquer cette matrice de décision sans systématiquement refaire le cycle complet d'intelligence. C'est ce qu'on appelle GIE quand on travaille avec des GPU. GPU, inférence at runtime. C'est comme ça que les voitures vont être connectées sans être connectées. On va envoyer le modèle de décision à la voiture va rouler, va appliquer les décisions basées sur le modèle qu'elle a reçu précédemment dans son ordinateur de bord. J'avance, un piéton. La voiture ne l'a pas détecté. Pied sur le frein. Je rentre chez moi le soir. La voiture se reconnecte au cloud et dit, tiens, c'est étonnant. Il y a une situation aujourd'hui inhabituelle. La personne a freiné dans ces conditions-là. On envoie tous les logs sur le cloud. Et ça, c'est avec des milliers de voitures. On repasse dans le système. Les tuyaux de classifier.
We go back to the system with the classifier system. Said, oh, that's strange. This situation didn't happen with him. It happened with him. It happened with that. And we take the decision back to the car. It's on-board system. The next day, the situation is almost similar. The system stops. And we think that this is going to change a lot of paradigms. The way we are going to negotiate the various limitations with your telecom operators, for instance. The way you're going to manage your workload in the cloud. the way
dont vous allez négocier
you're going to
les cartes
negotiate
connectivité.
the maps on your connected networks and connected objects and the power that's associated with it.
Alors, vous vous rendez compte qu'on est quand
So
même assez loin
you
de ce qu'on
realize
appelle
that we are very
la
far
singularité.
away from what we call the myth of singularity, this kind of Terminator type intelligence, omniscient, knowing everything, all powerful. We're very far away. Actually, we're much closer from the B to the
Pour moi, les
B.
réseaux de neurones,
From the moment, the neural networks, we have as many neurons in the neural network that there is in a bee, in the brain of a bee.
et je vais prendre Yann Lequin,
And let's take what Yann Lequin said. He's a French researcher.
auteur du Facebook AI Research
He's
Group.
head of the Facebook AI research
Il
group.
parlait d'un podcast il y a pas longtemps.
And he on the 3rd of September, not a long time ago, he spoke in a
Le cerveau
podcast and he
est un
said,
million de fois
the
moins
brain is
efficace
1 million times more
que les meilleures
efficient
appliances aujourd'hui.
than the current state of the art technology. So I did some
Le
calculations.
cerveau, c'est un hexaflop.
So
C'est 10 puissance 18
the brain is 1 hexaflop,
Ça, c'est votre cerveau. C'est
10
incroyable, hein.
times 18 operations per second. We're sitting here. We don't realize how powerful our brain is.
Une ampoule de 25 watts.
How much does it consume? One 25-watt bulb. It's good. That's a good price ratio. If I need to do it myself with neural networks,
Ça me prendrait l'équivalent
I would need
de 10
10
superordinateurs
supercomputers,
aujourd'hui.
today's level of 2
10
supercomputers.
superordinateurs pour
10
reproduire
today's
un cerveau.
type of supercomputer to reproduce one brain.
Superordinateur, c'est déjà une chose.
So the price of these supercomputers already once, and they would consume one yearly consumption of a nuclear power station. You're sitting on the power consumption of a nuclear power station, and it only weighs a couple of grams. So what do you think of this omniscience AI that controls all of us? That is going to require a number of nuclear power stations to power them. So we're far away from this methodology. What we want is you to focus on your business. That's why we are going to give you the best equipment.
Ces technologies, elles évoluent.
These technologies are constantly evolving. The quality of data is evolving.
Les algorithmes évoluent.
The algorithms are evolving.
Mais il y a une chose qui ne change pas.
But there's one thing that doesn't change, is that the walls, there, you can't push back the walls.
Dans le cloud,
So in the cloud,
je vous propose des appliances
OVH offers you
dans le high performance
specialized appliances for high-performance computing, big data.
compatibles avec les plus grands standards du marché.
We are compatible with the major standards of the market. You can focus on your business, we focus on the infrastructure. We deal with the infrastructure. Second element, for deep learning.
C'est 10 superordinateurs
Today,
pour faire un cerveau et une tranche
to,
de centrale nucléaire.
today to copy a brain, you need 10 supercomputers and one nuclear reactor. What do you need tomorrow? One supercomputer, maybe.
On vient de vous annoncer.
Remember what we said. I said this morning. The appliance that the alliance that we announced you, the NVIDIA equivalent to 800 CPUs.
Que le superordinateur,
It's the same as the biggest supercomputer 10 years ago.
et là, je
That's
viens de vous annoncer juste avant
and before that, I just told you that one brain is the equivalent of 10
10 superordinateurs.
10 supercomputers of today. So what's going to happen in 10 years?
Parce que dans 10 ans,
In
seulement
10
10
years,
machines
maybe only 10 of these machines,
puissantes
very powerful machines,
pourront remplacer
will
l'équivalent.
be able to replace the equivalent of a human brain.
La question que je vous pose, c'est est-ce
And
que
the
vous allez
question I'm asking
investir
myself, are you going to invest today
en capex
in capacity
pour quelque chose qui, dans
for something that in 10 years
ne sera plus viable?
will not be viable anymore?
C'est pour ça que le cloud existe.
That's why the cloud is there.
On prend les risques,
We take the risk, we carry the risks, we share the risks, and we let you focus on your business and on your operations.
on a aussi des
So we also have offers that allow you to focus on your core business, because with experience we have seen that we had to work on these systems. We ourselves, we had to manage our core business, our own core business.
Et on s'est rendu compte
And we realized
que vous avez beau casser tous les silos,
that you can break down all the silos you want.
parfois,
Sometimes
il y a aussi des silos humains.
there's also human silos,
Et on n'a pas tous les mêmes enjeux.
and we don't all have the same challenges. We don't all have the same time to market, even within the organizations.
Le HPC, le big data,
HPC, big data,
c'est quelque chose
that is something that is very important and that IT needs to master.
Mais tout ce qui va être machine learning,
But everything
data
that's
science,
machine learning and data science,
est-ce que c'est pas le métier
is it not the trade
qui doit être en capacité
that should have the
de
capacity
se rapprocher de ses clients,
to express itself at the daily basis, to
de se rapprocher
be
de la
close to its customers,
de se rapprocher du risque?
to be closer to the risk?
Eh bien, on a aussi des offres
Well, we have offers
qui vous apportent la
that
flexibilité
give you the flexibility of the public cloud, instances that can be extended, that can be scaled up in a couple of clicks, with package offers so you don't have to do system administration, so the IT can focus on the value creating activities, on infrastructure management for themselves,
le métier se concentre
and
sur
that
sa
the
valeur.
trade can focus on the core business, on the value creating activities, the analysis of the data. That is what is important for the core of the business, not managing infrastructures. That's why we have these pay-as-you-go offers, packaged environments without any administrative functions, with computing power that are largely sufficient for your data analysis. And if they need to go to production, the IT is there for that.
J'ai fini mon modèle, j'ai fini ma
I finished my model, I finished my simulation, now I can go live. If you want to go live, just go to IT, HPC, where they stand ready. We're playing in a different category, in a different league, and we're ready for that. Now it's up to you
votre cerveau.
to let your brain play with IA.
Voilà, je vous remercie.
Thank you very
Je vous
much,
souhaite une bonne fin de conférence.
and I wish you a good rest of the afternoon and a fruitful conference.
Pour la suite, vous allez avoir Vincent Terrassi,
Now you're going to have Vincent
qui est le head of
Terrassi,
data chez
who is
OVH,
the head of data
qui va
at
vous parler
OVH,
avec Rémi
and he is
Bachat,
going to talk to you together with Rémi
SEO,
Bachat
comment le SEO
with how
révolutionne
SEO,
la data révolutionne le SEO, comme ça.
how data is revolutionizing search engine optimization with search engine. Thank you.